How we doing, boys and girls? Good morning, good morning. It's reset day. Howdy, howdy, boys and girls. Welcome, welcome. Hope we're all doing well. Time to do some, time to slack on cancel scans again. Yeah, you're probably right. Now, I've had a bit of a tweak and a bit of a tune and a bit of a play around with the microphone, and hopefully it sounds a little bit better today. Now, I can't guarantee that the volume levels are perfect yet. The natural volume of this microphone is considerably lower than my last one. But in turn, the sound quality, I hope now, should be a little bit better. Put a little bit of EQ on it, a little bit of a noise gate to keep out all those clicks and all that sort of stuff. So we should be doing all right. Let's turn down the tunes a little bit. Let's dive into this. There's a couple of things I want to do today. I'm at the point where I'm getting slightly frustrated with the spiraling prices of everything. For example, I'll give you a good example. Let me log on to... hello there. How are we doing, Haddock? Well, welcome in. Good to see you. One thing I really want to try and counteract is things like... Let me see if I can show you. 168 gear. There's not many people in my realm posting 168 gear, which normally it's not a problem. Apart from the fact some of the prices for it are getting ridiculous. 52,000 gold for some Shadow Steel boots? No, I don't think so. They're never going to sell. Hello there. It's played it again. Why did it play that twice? Why did it play that twice? Don't know. Sure. Right, so we need to try and fix this. This is one of my goals for today, is to fix this. Now there's a easy way to fix this, and there's a very complicated but very accurate way to fix it. So there's two in chat. One was delayed. Oh, that could be right. That could be why. Oh yeah, so there is. Cow, how are we doing? Welcome, welcome. Yeah, maybe it queued them up. I don't know. Sound alerts is a bit low. That one's meant to be low. That's meant to just be, a subtle little howdy doody. I'm going to be honest. I hadn't really tested all the sound alerts. I can't do everything. I'm only a small goblin. But yeah, we need to fix these spiraling prices. I kind of have a plan of action. There's been something I've been testing for a little while that uses a bunch of custom price sources to firstly accurately determine the value of an item. And then once we have an accurate valuation to the item, we can attach a profit that we want to make on that item. The profit is going to be... based upon the value, pretty much. And then we can obviously build our operations out from that. So hopefully it should be, a little bit better. Item level 200 stuff selling for 4 to 6k on my server. That seems to have been about the balance for them. That seems to be a reasonable balancing point for the item level 200 gear. Now, of course, we already know that item level 200 gear is in a little bit of a risk, simply because in patch 9.1.5, you can buy the Corthian armaments that you want. There's no longer the gamble with buying random ones. You can say, right, I want boots, or I want chest piece, or I want whatever. Now, of course, they're bought with Stygia, so yeah, not everybody has thousands and thousands of Stygia kicking about, but many people do. So we got to kind of be a little bit aware of that. Actually, I've just realised I've not put up my ghetto-ass sound installation today. So let me just do that ever so quickly. Please hold. If I die and fall over, please send for help. Because everybody knows that standing on a chair with wheels is the most sensible thing you can do. Anyway, there we go. Right. Getting ready to clip that. Oh dear. Yeah, please don't. But yeah, so there's a couple of things we want to do today. I've kind of started it. Like I said, I kind of started this, but I want to catch you guys up to speed because I thought that this could be a good tutorial for people on how to maybe try and implement this themselves. So let me show you how I've been thinking about doing it. I'm going to need to log on to another instance of WoW. Nope, that's my US one. Let's go here. WoW 3. Go. DB crafting cost? Yeah, something like that. But I want to make, yeah, determining the value of something is a big problem in this game right now. Because TSM is really good at giving us price sources. But the price sources are usually based on something. That doesn't necessarily mean that any one given price source is a fair indication of an item's value. That was argued to be what DB Market is, but in reality it's just not, because even DB Market can be heavily swayed in one direction or another by certain things. So we need to work out we need to be able to create a value for an item. What is the value of an item? So I started writing this down because this is what I tend to do when I start to do a project like this. Is I start to just kind of put down some notes. What do I want to do? What are the variables that are going to go into it? And then how can I actually implement that into the game to make it just, work? So if we want to create the value of an item, there's a few things that we want to be able to achieve by doing this. We want to limit, this was the number one factor for me, we want to limit the spiraling price of items. The way that TSM is most often set up is indicative of promoting the prices of something spiraling upwards. And as we know, this is why you get random stupid things being posted for tens of thousands of gold at a point which just not valuable to anybody. It gets to a point where it's just so high over any fair, reasonable price that nobody's going to buy it. So we really got to make sure that price spiraling can't happen. We have to gain some control over it at some point. But how we do that is not necessarily straightforward. We also want to be able to choose the best price or the best valuation of an item based on how you got it. Because, of course, you can craft stuff, you can buy stuff, or you could loot stuff. And depending on which one you have done would, in turn, determine the value of that item. Now, of course, that is only the value of the item to you. But if you've crafted something, you're probably going to base the value of that item somewhere near to what it cost you to craft. In turn, if you bought it off the auction house because you saw it on there cheap, you would probably want to prioritize however much you paid for it as a starting point. Looting it makes it free. Yeah, that's it. Farmed it so it's free, right? So we'll have to, we got to take that into consideration. The reason of doing this is it should in turn make the operations that we have to create relatively simple. If we do all the calculating of prices and stuff first, our operations should be quite simple. We shouldn't have to be doing loads of fancy stuff in the actual operations because we'll have done it at a foundational level somewhere else, which is a bonus. You could have some very simple operations, value plus profit. Boom. Done. Easy game. If we happen to be the only one posting it, well, value plus 5 times profit. Whatever the case may be. We can keep the operations really simple then. And in turn, it allows us to then hopefully have greater control over our profits on stuff. For example, you can then say that, right, well, if something is valued quite low, the profit on it is going to also then have to be quite high, because otherwise it's just not worth us spending the time either buying it or crafting it or whatever the case may be. Yet on the flip side, if the value of an item is really quite large and we have to invest a whole bunch of gold into either buying it or crafting it, we're going to want to make sure that we make some profit, but we're not going to be wanting to make 10 times what it cost us, because that's just unrealistic. We may then only want to make a similar amount of profit, but on a smaller percentage of what it's valued at. So we want to be able to control all of those things a little bit better. So I thought with these objectives in mind, we need to start creating a system that does all of this. So the next thing is, well, how do we get items? There are 3 possible sources. We can either loot them, we can either buy them, or we can craft them. Correct me if I'm wrong, that should be it though, right? That should be everything. We either loot it, we craft it, or we bought it. I can't think of any other situation, because obviously if you buy it from a vendor, you bought it. If you pick it up off a mob, you've looted it. If you were traded the item, I guess you technically bought it. Theoretically, there'll maybe a transaction to you. I mean, gifted, I don't know. Found it is technically looted. That seems to cover all the 3 bases. And what I kind of mean by that is that we're going to have, you know, crafting being referenced somewhere, probably smart, average, buy being referenced somewhere, and then looted is going to be a combination of things like DB market. It's going to then maybe take into consideration realm price, region price, you know, all of the above. So we're going to have to take into consideration these things when we try and attach a value to an item. But if we do it at a base level using custom price sources, then we don't have to do it every time in the operations, which is kind of the bonus. So what I first thought of is to control this, right? To limit the spiraling price of items, we need to do a little bit of a comparison between the region price and the current realm price, or DB market and DB region market is what we're going to need to do a comparison of. If one goes considerably higher than the other, we want to choose one of them based on that information. Usually when you find a item on your realm is spiraling out of control, it's usually only on your realm. It's usually not happening on all of the realms at the same time. So you tend to find that there's a huge difference between the DB market price and the DB region market price. So I thought a simple custom price source, the name we can work on, but I just thought of spread, where we take the DB market price and we divide it by the DB region market average. This will give us an integer. This will give us a number, a solid number. It won't be a reference of gold. It will just be a number. And then based on that number, we can say, right, well, if that number is above 10, then we're going to take the region market price. If that number is below, I don't know, 0.1, then we take the DB market price. Or yeah, something like that. I don't know. I've not worked this out completely. I've not done the science behind this. Streamer loot doesn't count, by the way. Streamer loot is not a price source in the game. TSM does not support streamer loot. Streamer loot is the equivalent of looted. It didn't cost you anything to get it. Stylist, oh, hang on, that's not Stylist, that's Steelist. Steelist30, welcome, how we doing? Good morning to you as well. So something along those is going to create a number. Something like this. I don't know if it's going to be exactly like this, but it will create a number. And if that number is too big, it will change which one of the two that we use. So you'll see this a lot of time in operations. There'll be things like somebody will write something like max, then DB market, DB region market. Can't type today. You'll see something like this in an operation, which is great. But then somebody has to put this like either multiple times in an operation, or they have to put this in every single one of their operations. If you start using something too frequently, you should probably pull it out of your operations and turn it into a custom price source. So then you can keep your operations looking clean. It comes from, this thought process comes from sort of anybody that is reasonably good at coding will understand that you try to keep your code clean and tidy, because then it makes it easier to understand, it makes it easier to change, it makes it easier to hunt down errors in it. And this is the same sort of theory, is that if you start doing something like this in too many of your operations, maybe you should take that out of the operations and turn it into a custom price source, and then just reference that price source in the operation instead. That's kind of the whole theory. We'll see how it plays out though. So instead of doing something like this, we are going to firstly create a spread, which will be that number to give us an indication of whether we should be using DB market price or whether we should be using DB region market price. This should hopefully, this is my plan at least, hopefully, I see you haven't met many that code. Well, I know lots of people that code. The likelihood is most of them just aren't very good at it. But yes, coding best practices is to keep your code clean and tidy and neat and organized. I would imagine. I'm not very good at coding myself. I can read most bits of code, but when it comes to writing it out, yeah, that's a different story. I am on the hydration. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I've somehow managed to get dog hair in my mouth. Lovely. But so yeah, it will create a number, and if that number ends up being too big, it will reference one or the other. So the way that I was thinking this might work is, say for example, if the region market price, let's give you an example. Let's say the DB market price of an item is now 50,000 gold. Because it's spiraled out of control. But actually, the region market price... The region market price on that item is actually only 3,000 gold. What we would probably want to do in this scenario, it doesn't take a genius to work out that if you're trying to post something at 50,000 gold, yet across the region, the average price of it is 3,000 gold, you're probably not going to sell it if you're using the DB market price. But in this scenario, you would say, right, well, you take your 50,000 and you divide that by 3,000. I should have picked some easier numbers for this. 16.6. Let's just change that to something that's not, you know, crazy. Give us some whole numbers. Hello, wife. Yeah, let's do this with some simple numbers. So 50,000, divide that by 4,000, you're going to get 12.5, right? 12.5 is the spread in price between the two. So what we probably could say is, we probably could say that, well, if the spread goes above, let's say above, like, do we say 5? We probably want to say that if the spread goes above 5, you'll use the region market price instead. That will mean that if something is starting to spiral, your pricing of it will revert to, instead of using DB market price, it will revert to the region market prices to try and counteract this kind of like spiraling price going out of control. That seems to be sort of sensible to me, because we can reference then that spread in a minute. So if this if we create a spread price or a value using a custom price source, then we can reference that and say, right, well, if it goes above a certain number, in turn, what we might want to do is also, I mean, I can't imagine there's ever a situation where the region price for an item is way out of control, but your realm price is not. I was just thinking, do we have to try and put something in place that goes the other way as well? I don't think we do. I don't think we do. Guess I'm not very good at coding. Streamer says he doesn't know anybody that's good at it. Sorry, my man. I'm sure you're very good at it. Keep your code messy, then only you understand it. Equals a job for life. Well, maybe. Maybe. There is one, one philosophy in business that says, like, the best way to maintain a job for life is to be irreplaceable. Because if you become irreplaceable in your workplace, then you're good. You're good. Prefer to use DB region historical. It tends to be more stable. How does... See, DB region historical, if I understand it right, basically does the same as DB region market average, but instead of it being a 14-day, it's a 60-day. Which I think is probably smart for anything before Shadowlands. But if it's Shadowlands content that's subject to very quick, rapid changes, I'm not sure using historical pricing is too accurate at that point. But I'm not sure. I would have to test. But it's food for thought, yes. For example, in BFA with corrupted gear, if you had a rare piece and put it at like 2 times the market price, then a few weeks later, the entire DB region market is multiplied many times over. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how it works perfectly in reality. But in theory, I think creating a... I think I'm getting somewhere. I don't think there's any one perfect way to perfectly counteract all of this, because I'm also cautious of that I don't want these custom price sources to be too complicated, for one very simple reason, that TSM has a tendency to crash when you do anything too complicated with it. If you have too many nested if statements within each other, they tend to crash. This is a problem that I had back in 9.0 with my ludicrous custom price sources that I had for legendaries. They slowed down, like the game almost slowed to a crawl when it tried to do the maths, and occasionally would crash because of it. And if you have too much going on, that you can definitely overcomplicate things, and TSM doesn't like it. But this is the first starting point. We can consider this like a first draft, if nothing else. So we generate a spread, and I'm going to go by a theory that, let's just say, if spread is more than... If spread goes over a value of, let's say, to begin with, 5. If a spread goes more than 5, use... DB region. DB region, something or other. Whether we use DB region market average or DB region historical, whatever. The problem with DB region historical is that there physically won't be a DB region historical for a long time. You need 60 days worth of data, 2 entire months of information, which means it tends to break at the start of patches or when new items are implemented, because they just don't have a historical price for a long time. What is it that I use on my legendaries now as an auctioning operation? It's dead simple. It's like 110% crafting or something. I don't do anything complicated now. Although I do need to refresh what I use for legendaries since TSM doesn't support usage of vestiges properly. I need to think about legendaries a little bit. I'm just not thinking about them right now. So that seems to feel... So if the spread is more than 5, use the DB region price. That means that if your market is starting to spiral, if your personal realm is starting to spiral upwards, which naturally happens on some things, then it's a catch situation. That if it starts to spiral too high, it'll allow for, it'll allow it to get to a certain point. But if it starts to get too far, it'll just go, no, this is ridiculous. Drag it back in. Start using the region price instead. So it allows for something to be 5 times more expensive on your realm. So in this scenario, the DB market price could get up to 20. It could get up to 20,000 gold before it would sort of decide that, right, this is getting a little bit over the top now. Rein it back in. Start using the region market value average, because otherwise you're never going to sell things at 20k. That's the theory, at least. Okay, so we've got this custom price source that's spread. So how do we then determine the value on something? Well, this is where I can start showing you what I've kind of already started in game. In terms of, I do have some basic stuff for this setup. Not on this realm, though, of course. Sure. Where was it? I was doing it over here. Let's load in. Come on, game. It is a bit early for a maths lesson, I know, but I'm feeling adventurous today. I know it's reset day. We should just be hammering the auction house like an absolute madman, but so we do actually have a little bit of something started already. We do have a value that I reference in certain things. So this value, we're starting to, if we look at this compared to our notes, we said that when it comes to valuing something, we need to consider 3 things. We need to consider whether we looted that item, whether we bought that item, or whether we crafted that item. So you can see here, we kind of have the start of that, where we've got our smart average buy price, which is a tick to if we bought it. We have our crafting price, so if we can craft it, because this also means that you can start applying this stuff to things that you can't actually craft yet, that you might have bought, and it gives you a little bit more flexibility. So smart average buy price, check. Crafted price, check. Then we want to do the looted variant, which is going to take this spread into control, into consideration a lot. Whereas at the moment, I'm just doing the average of the DB min buyout, the average of the DB market price, and the average of the DB region market average. Add those 3 together, divide by 3, create an average, and use the average of that. The problem is it's still not perfect. Not even remotely close to perfect. This is where we need to start referencing that spread a little bit. Now, of course, if we buy something or we craft something, we want to value it based on those things. The only reason we need this spread is for items which we haven't bought or crafted. So we're basically trying to get away from referencing DB market or DB region market by themselves. So how can we actually do this? We want to first look. I'm doing a lot of thinking out loud here. But we want to have something such as if greater than or equal to, if spread is greater than or equal to 5, use DB region market average. If not, use DB market. Pretty simple, right? Pretty straightforward. That's gonna utilize this custom price source. So if the spread is too high, if the spread is greater than or equal to 5, so if your DB market price is more than 5 times what the region price is, you're gonna use the region market price instead. If it's less than 5, it will use the DB market price. So that then takes into consideration a little bit more. What it doesn't take into consideration is the current minimum buyout of an item. But I don't think when it comes to determining value of an item, you should base it upon what the item is currently listed for at its absolute cheapest. I hate using DB min buyout in anything for 2 reasons. One, you can usually only ever buy one of those items at that price, which may be alright for if it's a piece of gear or something, but when you start looking at using this for materials, it is 100% pointless to use DB min buyout. Secondly, TSM only updates every hour, so even then the DB min buyout is usually completely wrong to what it actually is currently anyway. The only reason I use it is because it's usually, it's the smallest of the possible numbers, so when it comes to like creating an average from it. But I think this is much better. I think this is a much better solution. So if we do this spread, which is a simple... The actual spread is just this. So it will take the DB market and divide it by the DB region market average. And then if the spread is less than 5... The main issue with DB min buyout was the massive possible sudden changes. Yeah, that's the thing. It's super volatile. It's about as volatile as a price source could possibly be, which means if you're basing anything, if you're basing much on it, you've also got to be aware that the outcome of that could also be very volatile. Min buyout shouldn't exist in formulas. It should only be used to see what an item is posted at currently or last snap, and that's it. Yeah, there's only one place in the game where I think DB min buyout should be referenced, and that's when it comes to running a crafting operation. Hang on, sorry. Not in the crafting operation, but what TSM considers the value of a crafted item in terms of deciding to tell you to craft it or not. That's the only one place I think it should be utilized. I kind of wish that they'd just get rid of it as a price source, but it does have that one purpose that is quite helpful. But even then, I don't think it's super helpful. A 100 gold item could be 1 gold in one moment or 100k seconds later. Yeah, this is also a problem. All the more recently with those nasty pasty people on the auction house who tend to deliberately super lowball material prices. So, I don't know, something like a lithium ore, those people that will post a single item of a lithium ore and they'll post it at 5 gold in the hope that somebody comes and posts a stack under theirs without thinking and they snag up a bunch of cheap stuff. If you're using DB min buyout, that one Elythium at 5 gold is going to mean that you're considering Elythium to be 5 gold when it's absolutely not. So there's a huge issue with using DB min buyout literally anywhere. The only time I've ever considered using it is as part of an average. But even then, it's not great. Wasn't in chat last week to ask the question, but what did you think to the GTA debate? Totally random, but if you're referring to the fact that Rockstar are trying to release GTA 5 for like a 12th time, yeah, it's just dog shit. Like, Rockstar, just make a new fucking game at this point. How old is GTA 5 at this point? I have no idea. But yeah, I mean, I don't own a PS5 or I don't own one of the next gen consoles and probably never will because I'm a PC gamer. I'd much rather have, you know, a powerful PC instead. Some keep trying that here. I just buy out everything but their bait. Yeah. Yes, it's a all the more common thing in Shadowlands. To these, you know, super low ball single post listings. But so I think this works kind of well. Obviously this is just one part of the value. You'd probably want to do. Now, this is the question. Do we want to do it as a first or do we want to take the minimum? If we take the minimum, there's a risk that because if we do it first, we could say that, right, well, if we bought it, we want to take our smart average buy price and we want to consider that first. However many we ended up buying. If we bought one of an item, then until we've sold that one, we still want to consider the value of it, but what we bought it for, quite simply. Secondary, if we haven't bought any, we probably want to take the crafting into consideration next, because that's how much it's going to cost us to make that item. But because we're trying to make a catch-all here, obviously if we can't craft something, or we've bought it, I think we want to be using first, you know. So smart average buy price first, then followed by crafting, then followed by this, will mean that we basically catch a little bit of everything. You're going to need a second bracket on that to close off this one. So that would indicate, that would be our value of an item. Now, once we've, do we think that that correctly values an item, at least more accurately than what TSM sort of, you know, throws at us by default? Is that making sense to people? Does that kind of, is that sort of logical? Can we find any sort of flaws in that? And I know it's dangerous asking the internet what they think on things, but I trust you guys at least somewhat. Because we'd want to use smart average buy price as well. Well, I would never ever use smart average buy. What would your alternative be then? Because if you use average buy, it's going to reference that price even if you don't actually currently own any currently. I don't like smart average buy either. Ask Mum, she knows best. Mum always knows best. Do we have a better option than smart average buy though? What you paid for something has nothing to do with what it's worth. I agree. I do agree, and I understand the principle behind that. But it is still something that you want to consider. Even if you don't base it upon that. Smart average buy price is very much at its best when it comes to materials, but even then it's you know, take two people with identical items / gold. Smart average buy has them crafting different items. Makes no sense. I think what we it depends on where you're focusing the value of an item, because obviously this value is not it's not an end resulting value. It's not a value to the person that is buying it. It is how much it is valued to you, and that's what you base your operations on. What that item is valued to you. Now, of course, if you bought something and you're planning on reselling it, the value of that item to you is what you paid for it. Now, the value to somebody else, I would agree, is not what you paid for it. The value to them is whatever they're willing to pay for it. Which is where the conversation usually comes apart, because value is, for starters, value is subjective. I fully understand that the value is subjective, but what we're trying to do with this, and what you should be trying to do with your operations, because of course, let's not forget, this is all to create what the big emphasis there is on what your minimum price is going to be. What is the least quantity of gold you would be willing to let that item sell for? Now, of course, that doesn't mean that you're always posting at that. That's just your minimum. It could very comfortably, sell for much, much more than that. This is just to try and hone in on what your minimum value of an item is. If I paid 300k for a BOE that's now 100k, I need to sell it at 99, because if I only post it above 300k, I will never sell the item and lose another 100k. Yes. Yes. But I would also argue that you shouldn't have bought that 300k BOE in the first place. Because the point is you should, either you done fucked up buying that BOE in the first place, or you took too long to sell it. And you were probably... Which in theory, yes, you would probably want to sell it for 99k as fast as you humanly can. Prices can tank, in which case you'd want to get rid of it. Can't go back in time. That is sunk cost. All you can do is make the best decision right now. Depends how far you take that argument, though. As by that very same logic, it also makes it very difficult to, in this case, value items based on the crafting price in the first place. But where do you draw the line between... Because crafting something is arguably the same as just buying it. In similar terms, that like if you buy something, and if you bought that BOE for 300k, you bought the BOE for 300k. If you crafted that BOE and it cost you 300k to craft it, it's the same scenario. Which almost means then that the valuation of something should not be... But that goes back to what I was saying earlier on how there is two different valuations here. There's the value to you personally, and then there's the value to the end customer. You need a formula to decide at what price you can buy more of a material if you need more now. Trying to guess is what it will cost to replace the materials. See, that's more of a forward-thinking approach rather than a yeah. Ideally, you'd see what's left behind in the bags and then decide to do a dump post. Yeah. Alright, I see where you're going. I see where you're going. I'm not sure how I can implement that in a... Because you have to pick one or the other. I don't think you can comfortably do both. If you're not going to recraft, then you're dumping regardless of what you paid. Buyer's willing to pay 100k for a Lego. We need to make sure that we can craft it for less if we want to profit. The buyer doesn't care if it costs us 200k to make. No, that's true. Yeah, I tend to have this. I've had this long-term issue with, you know, using crafting even still, in terms of the fact that it like the intrinsic value of an item is obviously the crafting price, but the extrinsic value, like to the person that's buying that item, they don't care what it costs to craft. They see value in it based on the use of that item, and this is something that TSM doesn't naturally fix very well, and this is why I'm trying to create sort of more value-based custom price sources, because TSM is very good at giving us data. TSM gives you all the data in the world. How much has this item been listed for in the last 14 days, historically over the last 60 days, on your realm, region-wide averages. It gives you lots of data, but it's up to us to take the data that is given to us and, you know, interpret that data and use it effectively. Corthite crystals are 300 gold now. The Legos are worth the same whether you paid 3,000 gold or 1 silver for them. Okay. There's more at play here than I first considered. Although I don't think that I can fully satisfy both ends of the argument. You gotta, I think that, or at least I'm going to go by the theory that you have to consider one or the other. You have to consider the intrinsic value of an item, which is the intrinsic. No, I always get these two the wrong way around. But there's the intrinsic value of an item, which is basically something like crafting, which is whatever it costs you personally to put that item together. So like the sum of the materials. And then there's the value of that same given item to somebody else. And that value is going to be determined by how useful that item is. So, you know, if it's a piece of gear, is it their best in slot piece of gear, or is it just a random piece of leveling gear, or is it a piece of gear that they will just, you know, equip to make it soulbind for the transmog to then vendor it? What is their value of that item? I think when it comes to creating operations and using TSM, I probably lean more so to the value of the items from a more personal level. So I think I'm still somewhat comfortable using this. Because I would still want to know that when I'm posting some stuff, it takes if I've bought an item, I still feel more confident in saying, right, well, because like I said, this is all based on a minimum. This is the minimum price I'm willing to let it go out for again. If I buy something and then the price absolutely tanks, it's a learning experience for me to know that I bought it at too high of a price. But it is a bit dangerous if you're not in that same mindset. Do I want to just take smart average buy price out completely? Are we at the point where we just say, screw you to buy prices and craft prices? In which case you wouldn't post the item, keep it in your bag so you know which items have turned out bad, and then decide on what you do with them from there. See, this is the cool thing about TSM, right? Everybody has a totally different way of utilizing it. Because they approach the market in different ways. And it's cool because there's arguably never one right answer. That's if you had the golden ticket, I mean your name would probably be Jeff Bezos if you had the golden ticket. You either need to reference the smart average buy price and the crafting price, and then know what to do because of that. Because you can also do other things, right? This is all about creating a minimum price. You can still say what happens if an item, it goes less than your minimum price. If it goes less than your minimum price, you could then tell TSM to just not post it. And let's not forget, we're going to add a profit margin on top of this all the same. Because the final outcome, because we'll talk about profit in a minute, but the final operation is going to look something like this in terms of you'll have value plus profit is going to be your minimum. If it goes below, if below, you've then got the option of either don't post at min, or post at normal, or ignore. Are your options there? In business school, paying attention to sunk cost is always the wrong answer. Yeah, this is often, especially when you scale things. Like for example, if you're I don't know, if you're Samsung and you're selling TVs, then whatever it cost you to make those TVs is almost irrelevant. You will continue to sell those TVs at whatever price you can sell those TVs for until those TVs are gone. And then once you've sold all of your stock, then you can evaluate, well, how profitable was that certain TV, for example. It is always considered better to sell something than to not sell something. And this is something that's super difficult for gold makers in World of Warcraft to get their head around, that not everything has to be profitable. It is okay to make bad decisions, but as long as you make more profitable sales than you make unprofitable sales, you still win. And the emphasis then becomes on, well, how can you win more often than you lose? And regarding the operations, I think PKB's kind of making a good point that you do have to, at some point, take into consideration that TSM is just the somewhat automated, and you have to consider it like the standard plan of action. You should still have a way to dump items, to get rid of those items that you've kind of made mistakes on. Maybe you've bought them at a too high of a price. Maybe you bought your materials for too high of a price, and in turn your crafting cost was too high. There are many situations where you still want some manual input, but the standard operation, I think, should be such that it takes into consideration things like your smart average buy price and your crafting as your standard operation. Sure, outside of the standard, outside of the normal, you might want to act differently, but that's maybe where you have to step in and do something yourself. But we want to sell everything with 150% profit, and we want to do it now. See, this is the thing, right? This is the thing. So it's like, not everything has to be super profitable, but you should create your your profile based upon everything being profitable, but also know how to deal with stuff when, mistakes are made. How do I find speed gear on the on the auction house? Is there a quicker way apart from using the Undermine journal? Can't you just search for? Can't you search for secondary stats? Or yeah, can't you search for secondary stats in TSM? I think there's a way to search for speed. I'm not sure, is the honest answer. Or if the market changes, like item level 87 gear will move out of the normal operations group into a closeout group. See, I for the exact same logic, right? Is with my base legendary groups, is why I have sellout groups, right? So it's, if it's in here, if it's in the normal group, then it's, business as usual. But if it gets to a point where, you're done in that market, then I can move it to the sellout group, to which it then has a different set of operations in place, so that it just sort of dumps them, and it switches from, crafting stuff and reselling stuff and posting at a profitable price point, and it switches to just, I'm never going to craft these again, just get rid of them. So this is kind of why I did the sellout groups, because you can't do everything in one go, for sure. Don't type that into Google. How to look for speed. Yeah. All my rank 1s to rank 3s is sellout at 70% DB market. Yeah, my sellout operations work slightly differently from that, but yeah, true. So I think I'm still confident. This is, for normal operation, of the, if you've bought some in, you want to make sure that you sell it for more than you bought it for. If you're crafting something, you want to make sure that your minimum is based upon the crafting price. As that's going to be, either what it cost you to make it in the first place, or what it's going to cost you to recraft that once it sells. But of course, excluding either of these two options, if you just happen to loot an item, namely things like transmog, this is going to be a really good way to prevent transmog from spiraling out of control. That if your market price gets more than 5 times the region market price, that it will revert to the region market average price instead, to try and keep things a little bit more in order. And the likelihood then is everybody else will probably post under yours, and it will go back to normal very quickly, and then the spread will revert back to the DB market. I don't know. It might ping pong between these two. It'll ping pong between these a little bit when it gets to that 5 times number. Actually, thinking about it, this will technically this will be, whilst we're not using it for its gold valuation, the number that will be generated will be a gold value, because custom price sources can only return gold values, annoyingly such, but either way. Max would then be the value of the item plus something like 5 times the profit. And then your normal, you'll probably very, very rarely use the normal price. But if you're the only one, you'll do something like value plus like 3 times profit or something. And you can see that these operations then are super catch-all operations, because you've done a lot of the heavy lifting up here of determining what you want to value something at. So I'm gonna it's not that I'm I want to make this very clear. I thank you all greatly for your feedback, but I think for the purpose of this, considering I want this to be, you know, standard operation. I know there's outliers. I know there's occasions where you do something wrong, or you've paid the price, paid too much for something. There are outliers, sure, but I think for the purpose of standard operation, referencing the price you bought something for is good. Referencing the crafting cost of something is good. And of course, if it's outside of something that you've bought or crafted, you're going to then take a look at market valuations. I think I'm sort of happy with that. So let's try and start implementing some of this. In fact, let's talk about profit. How do we calculate profit? Once we valued something, obviously, it makes sense for us to maybe look at, right, well, whatever the minimum value of an item is, we want to make sure that when we sell it, we're making a certain profit on it. Now, there are 2 options when it comes to profit: percentage-based or fixed gold values. Both have their pros and cons. If you use percentages, it's all good and well. If you use percentage profit margins, that's all good and well on a... For example, if you go by a 10% minimum profit margin, that's great on a 10,000 gold item. It's not so great on a 10 gold item. Nobody's gonna want to, you know, nobody's gonna want to make 10% profit on a 10 gold item. That's 1 gold profit. It's not worth you doing. It's not genuinely not worth your time. But of course, at the same time, if you have a 10% profit on a 10,000 gold item, that's making you 1,000 gold profit for every auction, which to a lot of people feels a little bit more, you know, natural. So what I've tried to sort of set up, and it's not perfect yet still, I have a profit calculation, and the profit values are different depending on whether you're selling a single item or whether you're selling an item in a stack. So for single item stuff, we have this monstrosity. So what it does is it takes our value price source that we've just been working on. So we know how that works now. And it says, right, well, if the value of an item is less than 200 gold, then for us, we're going to want to make, 500 times... Hang on, please hold. So if the valuation of something is less than 200 gold, then we're going to want to make sure that we're making a huge amount of profit on that item because it's so cheap. This will actually make sure that, those really, really cheap pieces of gear, you'll still sell them, but you'll still want to make sure that you're making a huge whack out of it. Basically, 500% of the valuation is the equivalent of saying, right, we want 5 times the cost on that. So that would be like 1,000. We don't want to, it's not worth our time to be listing and selling something if we're not going to make 1,000 gold on it, is my theory at least. But as that steps up, you can see the percentage profit that we're asking for does differ. And so it even gets the point that, if the valuation of something is 150,000 gold, then we want to make a 25% profit on that. So a 1 gold item you would sell for 5 gold. Well, the likelihood is that if it's a 1 gold item... no, I just wouldn't be selling it in the first place. It's the simple answer. I just wouldn't be dealing with an item that's so low in value in the first place. I know that's a hypothetical, but it's a hypothetical that probably wouldn't exist for me. Or I know what your next comment is going to be, is what about materials? Well, it's different for materials. This is a profit sink. This is based upon an item that is a single item. So it's going to be a piece of gear. It could be a base legendary item. It could be a pet. It could be a mount. It could be a single item, an item that you're going to sell one of. Your goal is to sell one of them. For things that stack, then it's different. So you have 2 different profit margins. So here, for example, if the valuation is less than 10 gold, then you're going to want to double your money on it. But obviously the mindset here is that you're not just selling one of them. It could be like materials where you'll sell a stack of them at a time. So if you've got 200 of a certain material listed and its value is less than 10 gold, so this could quite commonly be something like Leystrite ore, for example. If your Leystrite ore has a valuation of like 5 gold, we'll want to sell it for 10 gold, kind of thing. So it's different dependent on. So you'd reference a single price on an item that you would sell individually. I think it should include the sale rate to determine real value. Yeah, I don't disagree. There's no way to find out the historical max price for an item. Not really, because you got to remember everything is based upon what an item is listed for anyway. DB market, DB region historical, all these price sources are just the values of which items have been listed for on the auction house. You've got to remember that these are not necessarily the prices that things sold for in the first place. when you go to the other end of the scale and looking at what the historical max listing price of an item is, it's more than useless, not 9 times out of 10. So where's my value price source here? Let's adjust this one up. In fact, we're going to need to firstly make the new one, and we're going to call it spread. No, hang on. We're going to call it spread. And what did we say that our spread is? Our spread is very simple. DB market divided by DB region market without the S at the beginning. Why is that not valid? Have I spelled that wrong? DB market divided by DB region market average. Invalid word spread? What? How's that invalid? Hang on. No, apparently that's fine now. Oh, now it works. Odd. Sure. You had a space in it. Spaces shouldn't matter. Strange. Either way. Then what we can do is we can adjust our valuation to be... to include this. First, smart average by crafting, and then if the spread is greater than 5 gold, use DB market average. If not, use DB market. Now, why is that? Hey? Hang on. First, smart average buy price. Crafting. If greater than or equal to spread. Why does it not like this custom price source spread? Check that these are actually commas. These are commas. Why the hell does that not work? It's still complaining that this spread custom price source is invalid. Yeah, it's allowed me to do it. What? Hey? Did I? Maybe that was it. Maybe that was it. Haha, there we go. There we go. Use the wrong slash. I think we used the wrong slash. I'd also point out that DB market or DB region can rarely not be defined, so you should put some safety around them. What do you mean by safety around them? Oh, so that if one of... Oh, you mean on, like, something that's, like, so, like, an unobtainable... That what if the DB market doesn't exist? You can't divide nothing by something. Some items at the start of the patch don't have a DB market yet. Oh, that's such a... Yeah. Maybe maybe the first day, sure. That happens like one day a patch, maybe. Yeah. I know what you mean, but that's like... I often have items that don't have a DB market price. Is there really that many items that haven't been posted within 14 days for it to not have a DB market price? That sounds like a lot of low pop problems, yeah. Okay. Okay. I still think this spread is not going to work, you know. I'm also thinking I might need to multiply this by... Because if I... Hang on, let's just test something real quick. I still don't think that's going to work. I think it needs to be multiplied by 1 gold just to confirm the fact that it's a gold value. Custom price sources tend to go a little bit loopy-loopy when they're... Yeah, there we go. The spread custom price source is broken. We're going to have to multiply it by 1 gold to turn it into an actual gold value. Although it seems to say that it's fine right now, it's definitely not. Which in turn means that this needs to be... Yeah, there we go. So when the spread is less... when the spread is greater than or equal to 5 gold, it will use the DB market price rather than the realm specific market price. Which should then mean... Yeah, there we go. That's fine. We can now turn the spread off. We don't need to see that. Just needs to be there. Value. So for example now, right, the Shadowgast Gauntlets, item level 249. We have a crafting cost of those of 24,162. Meaning based on that, because we can craft them, we value the item at the crafting price. We would then base our operations upon that. That is really not that much different than saying, than referencing just crafting in your auctioning operations. But it's a more catch-all operation for maybe stuff that you're not crafting. Yeah, sale rate's also another funny one because, yeah, especially when you start trying to reference sale rate in legendaries, you just can't do it because the individual legendaries don't have a sale rate. The overall Bone Shatter Greaves have a sale rate at a base item level, but a 249 pair of Bone Shatter Greaves don't have their own individual sale rates, which is something I hope TSM eventually end up supporting, but it can be a problem. Okay, I think that's working kind of how I would like it to do. Because the thing to note here is that most of the time this won't get used. But it's just it just basically means that if we can craft something or we've bought it, we're going to reference those prices, just like what we more often than not do with our operations anyway. A lot of the time our operations are based on, you know, crafting. Now why are these busted? Why is my profit calculation now broken? Hey, hang on. Oh, that's why. Is that I was looking at the wrong operations. These ones aren't the ones I'm using at the moment. That's why. They're old versions that I don't use. We then have a single item listing operation instead, which is what I'm using. So value plus profit single is our minimum. And then the value plus 3 times the profit is our normal, and we'll undercut all the way up to the value plus 5 times our profit. That makes more sense now. I should really clean up my operations and get rid of some of the ones I don't use. Get rid of the old ones because they're distracting. The fact that there's a huge number that are still using this worries me. Oh, they've been changed already. Oh god. See, this is what this is why I tend to have multiple profiles, because otherwise, especially considering I share a lot of my groups and operations and stuff, I try to keep it clean and tidy. Yeah, I need to go through these and tidy it up. But I think from a... I think I'm kind of happy with that. It does 3 things, and it does 3 things that I wanted it to do. It limits the spiraling of price items, because it will prevent things from going just too high. Because a lot of the time... if you look at the... I wonder if I've still got it here. The default operation, for example, the way that TSM works out the box, tends to have, especially for transmog items, the tendency to just spiral things way out of control. Super duper out of control. And it's trying to rein that in. So I think I'm happy with how it limits the spiraling of prices. Because if you craft it, it's going to reference your crafting. If you've bought it, it's going to reference what you paid for it. Even though I understand there's some arguments for and against that. If you loot an item, it's going to utilize this spread in choosing whether it uses the DB market price or the DB region market average, rather than just picking whatever the smaller of the two is, or instead of just picking one or the other. It's a little bit smarter in terms of the fact that it works out right. Well, we'll continue to use the DB market price until a certain point, but if it goes above a certain point, then we'll revert to using the market price instead, because things are just getting out of control, and it sort of reins things in a little bit. That's the big thing I wanted to achieve from this, and I think this spread does that quite nicely. There's common arguments to choosing the best price on how you got it based on crafting and just, you know, if you've bought stuff. But it definitely helps make the operations simple, because no longer are you having to do stupid, crazy business like this. You can very simply just have, you know, a single item listing, an item that you're going to craft. So this would be attached to things like gear. You take the value of that piece, that item, you add on a profit dependent on how much that value is, and that becomes your minimum price. You want a minimum profit on everything of a certain value, and you can multiply out the profit to give yourself a bit more flexibility. The operations become very simple. Arguably, actually, these divided by 0.95 don't need to be a thing over and above the minimum. That's just, they're just on the normal and the maximum by force of habit. The only reason you do this divided by 0.95 is to make sure to take into consideration the auction house listing, the 5% cut the auction house takes. Whereas you only really need to do that on the minimum price. But then you have stack items, things that you're going to sell multiple of, then you're obviously referencing a different profit margin. But the valuation of the item stays the same. So for materials, for example, if you're flipping materials, it's going to take the amount of the price you paid for those materials primarily, then it's going to add a profit margin on top of that, and it's going to ensure that you always get at least that. It'll ignore auctions below. You may want to change this so that the items stay in your bags. That's up to you. Yeah, I think I'm a little bit more happy. I think we've ticked off. This is definitely achieved. This is still quite subjective to whether it's achieved or not. The operations, though, are much simpler, and we have greater control over the profits, because if we want to change how much profit we make on certain things, instead of having to go through all of our operations for those individual items, we just quite simply change one of two custom price sources. Right, well, if it's an item that we only sell a single one of at a time, namely like a piece of gear, we can change the profit margins that we want from those items here. And it's quick and easy to change and customize. The reason I like this system is so that as you level up your gold making, you tend to find that you care a lot less about lower value items. But you'll still care about lower level items, but as long as they still return a sizable amount of profit for you. But you care about them a lot less. For example, I'm very much at the point now where if the item is worth much less than 10,000 gold, I really don't care about it. Because I'm unlikely to be able to make enough profit on it to be worth my while. I would much rather be focusing on, you know, crafting and cancel scanning and reselling legendaries than I would a 35 gold potion or enchant. Okay. I'm kind of happy with that. I now need to implement that in a neat and tidy way. And probably check that it actually works. But I think it does. And I need to make sure that the usage of it doesn't completely tank TSM's performance. That when I click post scan, it doesn't crash, basically, is what I'm saying. Let's do a reload all the same to save some settings. Okay, that was... thank you for sticking through that with me. And I appreciate your feedback on it. It does help me do a lot of this. And this is why I like to do this stuff on stream, right? Because it means I can sort of, you know, verbal diarrhea my thoughts. Just kind of like think out loud. And you guys can jump in and tell me when I'm doing something terribly wrong. This will evolve into a Lego only crafting. Well, I mean, it's got the potential to evolve into probably, yeah. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, you end up focusing more so on. I mean, obviously, this is just the posting of auctions. This is not the crafting side of things. How you deem whether something is valuable to you to craft is another topic of conversation completely. But it definitely does. It does good work because, like we said at the very beginning, on typically the one account that I'm disconnected from. The one thing that I wanted to try and fix, and the main reason I wanted to implement this in the first place, excuse me, was to counteract these spiraling prices. Student did a video yesterday, where he was talking about the token prices, and one thing he said is that the valuation of the value of all his transmog in combined. The student says that he posts about 2,500 transmog items, and he said at the end of BFA, those items were valued at like 25 million gold. They're now valued at 60 million gold. And I'm just relatively certain in saying that he doesn't sell anymore and he doesn't make any more gold off them. It's not like he's doubled his income from those legendaries. He just sells less of them, because I would imagine a lot of his legendaries have just spiraled out of control, and the listing price is not indicative of the item's value. And controlling that spiraling is what I want to do, because, and I'll show you why it's happened for me. In items like, let me find a good example. Shadebound Helm being listed for 27,000 gold. The reason this has got out of control is because my operations are set currently to post these based on DB market price if it goes above your crafting price. I think. So, my minimum 10% profit ones, yeah, it takes into consideration the crafting price primarily is the minimum, but then then what it will actually do is undercut all the way up to like 10 times the market price. And it takes the bigger number of 10 times the crafting cost or 10 times the market price. This is very, very common to see. But I'm more and more believing that this is wrong, because this is indicative of prices spiraling out of control on less frequent selling markets. Not saying that's wrong. It's hard for non-Legos to be of interest to you, considering your Lego success. Yeah. It's like I said, like being in the luxurious position to have unlocked all of the legendaries and have fully covered the cost of leveling them. I'm just, just churning them out, basically. But until you get to that point, you obviously do want to focus on the smaller stuff whilst you're building your pot of gold. Once the pot of gold is big enough, though, you want to start. You start to care less for the smaller items, even when they're profitable, right? Even if I could craft a basic item level 100 ring and make 500 gold by crafting it and selling it, it's not worth my time doing it or putting the effort in or managing with all of the auctions, right? There's hundreds, thousands of things that are technically profitable to craft and sell in this game. The problem is you just don't want to be dealing with all of them. I'm already posting way too many auctions. Not here, because they've all just expired. But generally speaking, I feel I'm already posting way too many auctions. Even on this realm right now, I have 271 auctions listed. A whole bunch of stuff has just expired. So I'm still posting 300 to 400 items on each realm. And it's just too many items. It's just too many items to be actively focused on. There's a lot of stuff that I just post it and forget about it, which means I end up just not selling it, which means it was wasted time, effort, and gold in the first place. I used to love the glyph market. Now I'm wondering why I should bother recrafting them. Yeah, there comes a point where you just have to let things go. And with the auction house throttle, you realistically can't have too much control over much more than a couple of hundred items. I'm trying to limit what I post now to about 200 items. I don't want to be posting any more than that. Of which 99% of those 200 items will probably be legendaries, because they're reasonable sellers, and when they do sell, they often have the highest percentage of profit on them. Now, of course, until you get to that point, sure, but and more importantly, I'm trying to now play on multiple realms. And so to play on multiple realms, I don't want to be posting 500 auctions twice a day on 5 different realms. All I'll do is post auctions at that point. It becomes inefficient for me to be doing that. I would much rather... yeah, here we go. Nearly 500 auctions expired. Just purely taking 500 auctions out the mailbox and putting them on the auction house takes a reasonable amount of time. If this number was 200, it'd be far more manageable. Plus, if it was only 200, I could probably be somewhat actively cancel scanning them and making sure that those 200 items that I'm focused on, I'm actually focused on, and that's the point. Just throwing it on the auction house and forgetting about it is not how stuff sells nowadays. It might do for like past expansion transmog if you're lucky, but I'm so against this posting thousands and thousands of items and just hoping something sells now. I hope that makes sense to people. I hope it doesn't sound like I'm just, you know, rambling too much, but all the more reason when the token is nearly 300,000 gold in the EU and nearly 200,000 gold on the NA. Crafting Lego capes at rank 1 that sells for 190 gold hurts. True, it does. It definitely does. Anyway, that was my little maths lesson for the day. I really kind of wanted to get that in order. I've not fully implemented it. Fully implementing it on my realms is going to take a little bit longer to do. I won't bore you with me trying to just fix that for now, but once again, like I said, I thank you for your input. Yesterday it was up to 307,000 gold for a minute. Yeah, it's flying up and down at the moment. I'm not sure why it's swinging in price so heavily in the EU. It's pretty stable on the NA realms. Math content is the best content. Well, sometimes you have to do it, but the nice thing about TSM is, in theory, you should only ever have to do it once. Once you've done it, once you've set it up, and once it's implemented, it's just, you know, click the button and go. Maybe do a little bit of micromanaging here and there, but I hate it when I miss the math. Sorry, my man. We basically what we did is we tried to put together some custom price sources to do a couple of things, right? To firstly apply, I'll show you the notes. Let me just list these and I'll show you the notes. I will probably, you know, take all of this verbal diarrhea and turn it into a constructive 8 to 10 minute video at some point. But what we basically wanted to do is calculate a value for an item, mainly because there is lots of different price sources in TSM, but we wanted to somewhat more accurately attach a value to items that we can use in our operations. So we wanted to limit the spiraling of prices. So we wanted to prevent everything doing this. Why are we posting a Shadow Steel helm at nearly 50,000 gold? That's more expensive than a legendary. That's never going to sell. We need to rein that in, especially since it costs me less than 1,000 gold to craft it. Something's wrong here. We need to prevent this from happening. So this is what we wanted to do by doing this. We wanted to limit the spiraling price of items. This will also help with transmog, may I add. We wanted to choose a best price based on how you got the item, whether you bought it, whether you crafted it, whether you looted it. This one is still being a little bit more subjective in many people's eyes, but we in turn then wanted to make the operations easier, more simple operations. Keep all of the complicated maths in custom price sources so that you can just reference those custom price sources, keeping your operations very easy to manage long term. And in turn, we wanted to make sure that we have greater control of our profits, so that if we wish to change the amount of profit that we would like on any given item, we don't have to go through hundreds of operations and change them in all of the different settings. We just go to one place, one custom price source, we change it in there, and it retroactively changes throughout our entire profile, which was the plan. Now, how do you get these price sources to your other accounts? Well, yeah, that's a big problem. It's copy paste. Copy paste is the only answer to that, really. Goblin police in the auction house. Whoop whoop. Sold couple of hundred, 225,000 gold worth of sales on this realm so far. I've not even posted my auctions on the other realm yet, so sold a couple of rank 6s. Randomly selling lots of clusters, because I try to stock a couple of hundred of each of the clusters, just because I end up with so many gems that I have no idea what to do with them before, of course, I just vendor all of them. But I hate it when TSM import-export doesn't take custom price sources with it. It's really annoying that sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. It just has a mind of its own. Obviously, I have a massive problem with that because the supporters of the channel get access to my TSM profiles, and in turn operations, and in turn custom price sources. Some people import it and it takes the custom price sources and they're happy. Some people import it and it doesn't bring in the custom price sources. And then obviously there's a customer service issue at foot. So it's a bit annoying. I don't know why sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Right, let's list these auctions at the very least. We've got nothing on the auction house on a monumentally large realm that should be pretty busy today. That's wrong. Is it possible to have different prices on different realms for the same item on the same WoW account? E.g., I'm happy to sell cheaper on my home realm because I can babysit, cancel scan, but on other realms I need higher margins for me to be bothered to list the same items. And I can see that you're back undercutting me. Not easily. You just have to use different TSM profiles. For example, I have most of my auctioning is actually done on separate accounts anyway, but for the occasions where I do have auctioning being done on the same WoW account, you'll see I actually have, profiles for that specific realm, which will obviously then in turn have different settings within. Yeah, you just have to utilize TSM profiles a little bit. I see that you're posting a lot at normal price. Why is it you're doing this? I guess you're posting at normal price when... Yeah, my a lot of my operations are set to, if the price goes below my minimum, to just ignore it. Which also, in turn, means that by ignoring the cheap stuff, it's actually posting at normal. But for the most part, these are like lower level legendaries, so I'm not too bothered. Assuming the grouping needs to be changed separately on different TSM profiles. Yeah. Multiple profiles is a huge pain in the ass. Well, not only having multiple profiles is annoying. The fact that a lot of your custom price sources don't transfer between accounts. Now, I have a separate account for every auction house toon on each realm. So yes, it is just annoying. It's one of the pitfalls of having separate accounts to do your crafting and your posting on. It's just an annoyance of, you know, the adventure. Yeah, you're right. Making the profiles is easy. Maintaining them is impossible, yeah. Not to mention I have my own personal profiles, and then I try to have super neat and tidy, fully organised groups that go out to Patreons and stuff as well. So a lot of the time I end up accidentally using the wrong profile and doing all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff. It goes to show that ultimately it doesn't matter a huge amount. Just posting stuff and selling stuff, you'll probably come out ahead. Yeah, I make a lot of mistakes with how much I list things for. Because of that exact reason. Too many profiles, too many accounts, too many different settings all over the place. But I'm starting to try and get it, you know, under wraps. Wish the profile name was at the top of the auction house, so I could see if I need to change it. It's one of those things that you could probably do it with a weak aura. I don't know too much about exactly what weak auras can do to tap in to other add-ons, but I'm relatively certain when I say that weak auras could probably take what profile you're using and just, you know, stick it somewhere on screen. But that's just a guess. I might be giving too much credit to weak auras there, I don't know, but... Do you think I've got enough Korthite crystals at the moment, though? I think I'm a little bit overstocked on these things. I think I've got just a touch too many Korthite crystals right now. How we doing, Woo? Good to see you. Yeah, that's probably not a bad thing to suggest to them, actually. I mean, you could sneak it in here. You could sneak the profile name in here, maybe, or just put it, or just move the gold value and the little desktop application icon. Move that up a bit and have it underneath. I'm sure that wouldn't be too hard to throw in. Little quality of life change. What is this? Where did this come from? Ah, sneaky, sneaky. Quick lay strike choker out of nowhere. TSM in-game API has get active profile method, so you can do it with weak auras. Well, there we go then. Boom. Utilize an add-on that everybody uses anyway. You might not necessarily want weak auras up and running on your auction house tunes, but if you do, there's a possible solution. Are we selling stuff over here still? Little bit, not a lot though. Maybe it's cancel scan time. I would love to get rid of some of these low-level legendaries on Torrent and Mill now. I need to work out a solution for that that's more efficient than just trying to sell them cheap. This is kind of the stuff I like about gold making, though. I've said this a little bit before. For me, it's more about the journey of, you know, figuring out the markets, how to get things set up, configuring it all, adjusting it to how you like it to be. When I get to the point where it's just, you know, autopilot, just press a few buttons, craft a few things, sell a few things, I get really bored really quickly. I'd happily play around and tweak and tune and brainstorm TSM profiles all day. I suppose it's similar in nature to how some people scour the entire world looking for, you know, new farming spots or new items to gather and optimizing their gathering routes and that sort of stuff. A lot of the fun of gold making is in the I want to say in the craft, but it's in the method is in the madness of gold making a lot of the time, I think. Once you've figured it all out and you're just doing it, it's becomes it's not as fun anymore. Right, with that posting, let's cancel these off. Let's also do a cancel on 4, 5s and 6s. As I imagine, yep, as I thought, Miss Banks has undercut us on everything. How was there only 68 items, yet we're cancelling 100 items? Derp. Except this expansion, I find I'm fighting TSM so much right now on my synced auction house account. It thinks that a Crafter's Mark 1 costs 180k. Yeah. Just make sure you go through your vendor materials and just use hard fixed gold values for any vendor material. It's annoying that you have to do it on every account that you use, but it's another one of those, once you've done it, you've done it. There is nearly never a situation where you'd want to use anything other than a fixed gold price for a vendor material. Because that vendor will sell you as many as you want all day long at the exact same price. My sync keeps forgetting whole professions. Oh dear, that's not very good. That's not what you want. That's not what you want at all. Regarding Legos, are you only restocking rank 4s and 6s? Trying to sell other ranks. I'm only recrafting 4s, 5s, and 6s. But the quantity of them that I restock differs. So rank 4s and rank 6s, I craft 3 of everything. And that's 3 of literally everything. I don't give a damn about whether it's a domination socket or not anymore. When they were stupid expensive and people were a little bit more fussy about what they bought, then yeah, sure. But nowadays the crafting cost is quite literally a third of what it once was. So I just craft 3 of every rank 4, 3 of every rank 6, and I craft 1 of every rank 5. If I sell the rank 5, sure, I'll craft it again, but I have less of a focus on rank 5s, obviously. But they are selling nowadays. Now that they're so much cheaper, people don't think as much about the purchase when it's cheaper. If only we could use an external price source in TSM, then I could fix the Lego prices once and for all in LST. Yeah, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? Does LST choose between the cheapest crafting plan for rank 4s yet? Is that something that you're working on? So for example, for a rank 4, it would craft it using a vestige on a rank 2. Still work in progress. So it's manual all the way for now then. I've not done a restock on rank 4s for a couple of weeks at this point though. I'm such a slacker at the moment. I'm just selling what I've already got crafted. It's not going to make a big difference either way. I mean, in some scenarios it does. Are you even a goal maker? At the moment, I don't really feel like I am. I was lurking in Samadan's stream yesterday, and he was asking me how my legendary sales were going. And I think I used the phrase, I think I'm a part-time goblin nowadays. And it does feel that way. I repost my auctions and then I kind of call it quits. I have got an outrageous amounts of these essences. Nearly 3,000 Essence of Servitude. My days. Oops. I didn't realise I had quite that many. Made myself enough gold to buy Diablo 3 and like 5 paid services with tokens. Your guides did me well. Hey, good to hear. Glad you've had some success. And that's the trick, right? As long as you make enough gold to do what you want with it, then it's all good. Right, there we go. I think that's finally everything reposted on this realm. So we can start letting the sales come in, or more importantly, start letting the undercuts come in. Let's get the rest of these out the way and get back on the auction house. Then we might go do a little bit more leveling. I think we need to chip away at the leveling on NA. We need to like dedicate an hour a day, I think, at very least, to leveling over on NA. So we need to get to 60. We need to get to 60. EU is kind of just on autopilot. at the moment, and I'm happy for it to stay that way. But we should focus a little bit more so on getting up to speed on the NA realms. It's not like I'm running out of things to sell over on the EU, so I don't need to worry too much about making more. 50% towards 60 on my druid soon. Getting close. Getting close. I think we can head over to Ardenweld on our NA character now. I think he's 50. I just ran around for a while yesterday doing a little bit more herbing. I think we're 53 now. We can head over to, what will it be, Moldraxxus. Do the storyline quests over there. Sold materials for a value of 200k. Nice one. Nice one. Luxury of a druid leveling. You can make a lot of gold leveling druids nowadays. There's really not that many people crafting and selling legendaries on this realm now. But it's mainly because there's not a huge amount that sells, so it's a blessing and a curse. Over the past months, most goblins on my home realm have kind of given up. There's only a couple of us that are sticking it out still. Well, it's hard to define where my home realm is nowadays because I play on a couple, but my primary realm, I guess, is Sylvanas. We also play about on Torin Mill. We're pretty set up on both at this point. I think we have about similar gold on both realms now. 14.3 million in liquid gold on Torin Mill currently. Whereas we have 17.7 over on Sylvanas. So we got 30 mil plus in liquid gold kicking about now. Right. Was that all posted? Was everything posted? We're good there. We're just letting the sales rack in. Right, we're good. Wonderful stuff. Not dominating my realm, I have a chance. Hey, there's room for many goblins on every realm. It's not too big of an issue. I think we can close this one down. Hang on, we sold something. Where did we sell something? What did we sell? See, a rank 5 Shadowgas necklace. They do sell. Rank 5s do sell. Now they're cheap enough for people to not really care as much. They do sell. 22k crafting cost, sold it for 46. Lovely stuff. Probably won't sell a huge amount of them, but, you know, you don't craft it, it will never sell. Nice to see. Right. I'm going to take a quick 2-minute break, boys and girls. I suggest you take the opportunity to do the same. When we get back, we'll take a look at the NA realm. We'll take a look at our auctions, although sneak preview, I might have already relisted my auctions over there. But we'll take a look at the NA realm. We'll get a few levels under our belt, dedicate an hour to leveling over there, and then we'll see what goes. I'll be back in 2 minutes, boys and girls. Alrighty. So, oh, we're still selling more clusters. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Let's pick that's our US account. Let's go. I tend to find with leveling druids especially that you want to make sure you get flying first, really. Get flying under your belt, so what's that, like level 30? Get flying on the go and then just gather from there on. Easy game. I might do something a little bit wacky with this first character on the NA realms. I might give you guys the opportunity to choose which professions I take, and I'll just have to, you know, force myself to make gold with those professions, like archaeology and first aid or something. I vote fishing. This was kind of what I thought might happen. Yay, we sold 2 pieces of thick leather. I'm a millionaire. Right, stuff's listed. Good. We'll let stuff stay listed. Let's go do some leveling. Where's our sound gone? There we go. Sound effects, go. I've got way too much stuff in my bags. I should get rid of some of that. You may have also noticed that we have no gold. I went a bit heavy on some investments. If we look at our TSM graph, I know I said I'd do most of this on stream, but I got bored whilst drinking my coffee this morning. We stepped up, and I managed to spend all of my gold. I actually bought, one thing I bought was a huge amount of titanium ore. We got some titanium ore, what I considered to be very cheaply. Titanium ore, I think I bought a stack of 200 titanium ore, which is not anything incredible by most people's standards, but I picked it up for 98 gold a piece, which I thought was pretty good. I might live to regret that, but I think at 98 gold a piece I can flip that back out again pretty efficiently and make a nice little profit on each one. Hopefully that's the plan of action. So that's where all our gold went. A much bigger investment than I probably should have done, considering how much gold we don't have. But if and as and when it pays off, that'll be a nice one. Made some nice gold at the start of Shadowlands with fishing. It has its peaks, right? Like, fishing is one of those things that people don't necessarily enjoy doing it. They tend to leave it in the hands of the bots more often than not. But if those bots get banned and, you know, there's nobody actually engaging with it too much, then there's the opportunity that the fish actually becomes quite valuable. Especially raiding season, when, you know, people are trying to craft and sell feasts. Fishing to gold cap or riot? Oh dear God. Can you imagine? Flipping still something I can't do very well. Monolite is the only one I found success with. Flipping is something that is more about market knowledge. Flipping is something that you just have to practice. I mean, there's a couple of stages to it, right? Firstly, you need to know what to flip in the first place, but the biggest telltale, often you'll tend to find that you go looking for certain things to flip, because you kind of know what you're looking for eventually. It's that knowledge that's super helpful. You want to know that, right, if I buy a bunch of this and I buy it at this price, then I know I can also sell it back at this price. That's the knowledge you need when it comes to flipping. So I always recommend the best markets to start flipping in are the ones that you have the greatest knowledge about. Listening to what some YouTuber or some streamer tells you to flip is pointless, because They know about that market, but you might not. If you don't know about the market, you're probably not going to do very well with flipping. For example, this is why, for the most part, if you're an active raider and you keep up to date with, you know, what classes are good and what gear they use and this sort of stuff, you're probably in a good position to flip raid BOEs, for example, because you actually are quite knowledgeable on what is valuable and what is not. This was most obvious at the tail end of BFA when we had corruption, in terms of the fact that the people that knew which items were going to be the best in-slot items for people could often find that exact item being listed for considerably less than it arguably should have been, and so they would their success rate on flipping items would tend to be that little bit better. If you just randomly buy stuff and expect it to sell for more than what you paid for it, you're gonna probably have a hard time. Free the Ascended. Okay, let's unlock you guys. At what level can you learn fishing? I mean, you can pick it up from the word go. Play on Tor and Mill and Draenor. There are some very, very rich players who will sell things for next to nothing and go for a loss for months just to kill off the competition. It's usually a supply and demand issue. There's the theory that goblins do that, but I shit you not. There's really not many goblins that enjoy selling things at a loss for very long. It's often a case of that market is just saturated beyond belief because of the size of the realm, and it's usually a case of, you know, there's too many people trying to sell the same thing. And when you're like crafted items, for example, are the worst culprit for this, because when something is profitable, 20 people craft it. Now the problem is it was profitable only because there was one dude that had crafted it before, but there's only really enough people in the market for that item, you know, for maybe 1 or 2 people to craft it. When 20 people go out and then craft it, and then all try and sell it and all undercut each other, and yet there's still only 1 or 2 people actually wanting to buy that item, you've oversaturated the market instantly, which tends to then cause slowly but surely prices to get tanked into the floor until people start giving up. And unfortunately, when people start giving up, they tend to just dumpster the price of things because they think, if I dumpster the price, it'll sell faster, right? Not necessarily true. Sky Golems are a good example of that. Yeah, I would say that Sky Golems is not the worst example of that. It's one of those things that's frequently, and I know I'm guilty of this myself, it's one of those items that's frequently advertised as something that you should be crafting and selling. But the problem is you still need to consider the supply and demand element of it. There's not a huge amount of people that want to buy Sky Golems. Especially now you can buy a boost and level a druid as quickly as you can. A lot of people would just rather level a druid because it's, you know, it's arguably better than a Sky Golem anyway, because you haven't got the mount time. And now the fact that you can craft them at level 10 also definitely doesn't help. I was half. It was one thing I'm willing to admit defeat on is Sky Golems. I suggested to a bunch of people that they maybe look at Sky Golems before Shadowlands, because the historical data seemed to indicate that it was a wise thing to do. But as it turned out, we had way too many people trying to farm up millions and millions of gold at the end of BFA to pay for Longboys. And one of the very common items appeared to be a Sky Golem. And so the price didn't really rise on Sky Golems like we thought it might do, because the supply was just oversaturated even at the height of their demand. So it was a bit of a... It was a swing and a miss, unfortunately, on the Sky Golems this expansion. Sky Golem that mines. Just an all-purpose utility farming mount would be kind of cool. A mount with a mailbox wouldn't go amiss. Be the perfect perfect companion for those long boys out there. Slay the House of Constructs forces. Oh, okay. We just need to... one or two more of these dudes. Do I get 4% off a single fella? You watch, it'll be 2% now. No, boom. Panthers during 9.0 not worth crafting. Now you can make 10 to 15k off them. It's all swings and roundabouts. That's the thing, right? The main or the sensible thing to do is to do what other people are not doing. It's kind of counterintuitive, right? That this is why on my YouTube channel I tend to focus more so on, you know, the thought process and the logic behind goal making, less so on farm this item and sell it for a profit. Because all of that stuff, if you think that even a mediocre farming video that gets 500 views, that's 500 people that might go out and farm that material. It only takes a couple of those people to be on your realm, and they'll compete against each other and the price will tank very quickly. But in a month's time, when everybody's forgotten about it and gets bored of doing it, then the prices go back up again. For a long time I've said it's almost pointless watching Student's most recent videos. You're best off watching the video he posted 2 months ago and doing what he tells you to do in that. Because you'll have a lot more success paying attention to what everybody else is not doing. Not to mention the YouTube algorithm will love him for it. Yeah, maybe don't stand in the ick. Highborn compendiums are also successful for me at the moment. I mean, people went crazy for those because they were broken, overpowered at the beginning of Shadowlands. They weren't meant to be, but they were. It could be 500 people watching, or it could be me re-watching your video 500 times. Yeah, probably not. I like the somewhat... I appreciate the somewhat passive compliment in that, but yeah, it's definitely not. Oh no, damn, I remember I meant to press a button on these corpses. Well, if that's the case, let's pull you as well then. Right, my pet's busy killing those. Let's pew this thing. Why are these taking so long to die? Can they hurry up and die, please? Ah, because they keep spawning new shit. Leave it alone then. Oh, now my pet's dead. Great. It's weird playing on the NA realms. I'm still kind of getting used to the time difference. It's technically actually only 6 AM server time, which is quite funny. I bet if I try and find dungeons now, it'll be a sizable queue. I might actually have to take a slightly different approach to how I deal with gold making over on the NA realms, simply because it's not really that convenient for me to, you know, one thing I tend to tell people to do is to focus their cancel scanning around the popular times, but the popular server time for me is going to be like 2 o'clock in the morning. Which is not really convenient for me to be playing at that time. Maybe I'll get some of the early bird sales though. Got bored of my EU account, loving gold making here. It's been 2 weeks, got 548,000 gold. Yeah, I'm relatively confident in saying that gold making is just broken in on NA realms. I'm already starting to feel it. And I think it's pretty the reason why I think it's much easier to make gold on the NA realms, I think it's pretty simple. I think it's just there's just not enough people that want to make gold on NA realms. It's as simple as that. There's just considerably more quote unquote gold makers on EU realms. As there's more and more people that are interested in playing the game for free. A lower GPP, goblins per player. Yeah, probably. Probably. Click the necrotic extractor. I thought I did that. Oh, what about this thing? Did I not click this? I didn't. Just don't see the competition and lots of items missing on the auction house. Yeah. Check rank 6 prices whenever you got a minute on area 52. I'm here now, but I'm nowhere near an auction house. Maybe just either do me a screenshot or something. Finally got white mend pants. They're all about 25,000 gold. Oh, really? That's quite funny. A lot of items on NA realms are prices I haven't seen on EU realms since Legion. It's kind of insane. Feeling like the Long Boy farm just didn't happen over here. Callous Hide at 100 gold. Corthite sub 100 gold. Damn. Well, let's not forget, it was Area 52 where at one point Lightless Silk was available for less than 2 gold a piece. And it was even at that price that Dirty Herbie was like, nah, it's too expensive, I'm not going to buy it. That just goes to show, right? The prices are bonkers sometimes. Oh, maybe I should focus on the task at hand and kill this dude, rather than doing some cheeky mining. Boom! Be interested to see how well you do since you're primarily a crafter. Well, I'm only a crafter when I've got enough gold to be a crafter. That's the thing. I need the liquid gold to buy the materials first, but we'll see. We'll see. Corthite 300 gold on Area 52 and only 600 posted. It's probably because somebody swooped in and bought it all. This is the thing. It's like yesterday technically on NA Realms was reset day, so today is, you know, restock day. Dirty Herbie or Hickons has probably just bought it all. Yeah, cutscene, great, excellent, thanks. Spinal Tap. I don't think I like the sound of that one. We don't have to kill this dude, do we? Or do we? Hickons is insane. 6 WoW tabs. 1 for Mythic Plus. 1 for scanning. 1 for crafting. 1 for reposting. Yeah, the guy's a machine. The funny thing is I nearly never see an NA gold maker doing cancel scans. That's the thing that blows my mind, is they seem to be able to post stuff and it just sells. Now I'm sure they do cancel scan, but like I don't think when they talk about cancel scanning, I don't think they talk about the same type of cancel scanning that we tend to do on the EU. If they cancel scan like once an hour, that's like, whoa, this is hard work. I'm cancel scanning a lot. Whereas in the EU, if you go more than a minute without pressing the cancel button, you are donezo. I don't think the NA guys know what the throttle is. Like I said, why am I all of a sudden in the necrotic waste still? No, get me out of here. I didn't want to be in there. There we go, that makes more sense. Somehow I'd managed to go through the portal without meaning to. Ooh, now if we go do the necrotic waste, we get 41,000 experience, which is not a lot, actually. I mean, we'll take it in case we do a dungeon anyway, but that's really not a lot. Don't cancel scan. Too many items, too many characters, too many realms. Still leveling up 6 druids at the moment in a transmog farm at the moment. Like I said, a lot of standard items missing. Yeah, people tend to sway one way or the other. I'm happy to cancel scan if the items that I'm cancel scanning are valuable enough and the profit on them is good enough that it's worth my time to spend cancel scanning. But a lot of people tend to swing the other way. They're more than happy to post 5,000 items on the auction house in total and never press the cancel scan button ever. I see people tend to do one or the other. Did I say necrotic wake or waste? I don't know. I mean, it's a waste of time. Why are we going all the way up here? Oh, we're picking up flight points. Oh, I remember why we do this. I enjoy playing the game more. However, Student and other goal makers say if you're going for gold cap, cancel scanning is the way to do it and want that 10 million gold at ASAP. Oh, yeah, without a doubt. But the what's also not hello very... hello there. Just Do, how we doing? Welcome, welcome. What's also not very well advertised is that to put yourself in a position where you can just make filthy amounts of gold by cancel scanning, you have to have your professions already fully leveled up and you have to have already sold millions of gold worth of stuff. It's not as simple as if say for example, if you have one profession, if you have jewel crafting, there is no point cancel scanning on just Shadowgast rings and necks. Because yeah, sure, you'll probably sell a bunch of them, but the time you're spending cancel scanning is not really very valuable. Until you've got all of your professions like somewhat leveled up, cancel scanning is not really that optimal. And I see a lot of people devote way too much time to cancel scanning, way before than they probably should. And more importantly, I see people cancel scanning the wrong things. If people are cancel scanning transmog, I've seen YouTube videos go up of people saying that they cancel scan on transmog, and I'm like, you are mad. You're actually bonkers mad. Cancel scanning on transmog is a terrible idea. Just instead of cancel scanning, just post it for 12 hours and then relist it. You're dealing with way too many items. And people that cancel scan on like gems and stuff, it's like, have you not seen the list fees? Have you not seen how much gold you're burning by cancel scanning for very little extra reward? I don't know. I recall cancel scanning just one Lego item at rank 1 to 2, leveling it up back in December, was still raking in 500k in sales an hour. Yeah, I mean, back at peak season, sure. I mean, that was the way to do it back in the initial days, but those days are long gone. TSM kind of hides listing fees. Yeah, they really should make listing fees more prominent. I think people had changed the way that they list things very quickly if they realized how much gold they were just burning on deposit fees. I think the game would also be or would it though? I was just thinking that maybe people's approach would be different if base legendaries had a, you know, juicy vendor price. Can you imagine if they made it so that base legendary items vendored for like 50 gold each? That the cancel scan meta on legendaries would... It probably wouldn't switch. That's the problem though, because people wouldn't notice. It would actually just make it more complicated. Posting at 48 hours and doing cancel scans? Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, I'm gonna post arboreal shards. I'm gonna cancel scan on arboreal shards, and I'm gonna list them for 48 hours. If Legos weren't 1 silver a post, I think it would have had a noticeable impact. Yeah, yeah, definitely. But the problem is the profit in them, at face value, the profit in legendaries has been so ridiculous that people would still do it, even if it cost them 1,000 gold a minute. People would probably still try and do it. But like I said, it's because deposit fees a lot of the time are just very well hidden. Like, there's that little thing at the top of the window that says, oh, it's going to cost this much to list it. But who in their right mind pays attention to that? Especially when you're using the scroll wheel macro and you're not even looking in the first place. We are nearly 54. We are getting there. Slow and steady. Blizz can't just add a percent-based fee, as then it would fuck up other items like the Papa Fez, which sells for 3 million, but only once every 6 months. Yeah. Well, it's safe to say that, like, at a fundamental level, the auction house is just very broken. It's very broken. Saw somebody posting hundreds of arboreal shards at 110 gold each. Hey, their loss. Quite literally their loss. Not only will the auction house take like more than 5 gold when it sells, if it doesn't sell, they're instantly at a loss. Buy them out for lols. Well, if you, don't forget though, if you buy them out, then you're still technically paying 10 gold more than what you could do. So it's just a dumb thing to do. It's a lose-lose situation. It was funny seeing people sell arboreal shards on the auction house, you know, in the first couple of weeks of Shadowlands, but you would have hoped at least that people would have learnt pretty quickly. More importantly, you would have hoped that people would have learned that if they post them on the auction house, just how much it costs to post them. But you would have also have hoped that, you know, people would have learnt by now that you don't need to buy a rank 1, a rank 2, a rank 3, a rank 4, a rank 5, and a rank 6. You can just buy a rank 6. But, you know, other people's mistakes is our win. Off to Moldraxxus. I suppose we should take this opportunity to maybe check what's going on with our sales. using an auto clicker for posting cancelling. Probably wouldn't advertise that point too heavily, since you probably shouldn't be. Let's just do rank 6s to begin with. And I thought I'm among friends. Hey, you never know who's watching. Grab those out the mailbox real quick. Let's get those listed back up. Might do a cancel scan on 4s as well. I'm not too concerned today. Fresh 60 on the new realm. Time to see what this realm has to offer. Congrats, man. Well done. Above max price. What are people posting these for then? Somebody's tried to reset the market on a few things. Five sausages, a bowl of cheesy chips, and 6 slices of bread was too much. Food coma incoming. Sounds tasty, mind. But it, yeah, 6 slices of bread I think is probably what did it for you. That sounds like a mistake. Sounds like mistakes were made. Hang on, what is all of this noise going on? Oh, of course it's this bit. I remember this bit. That's why there's lots of noise in the background. I'm getting a bit peckish, you know. I should go get myself some food before too long. What time is it? Yeah, definitely. Hang on, look, new names. Who's this Matson dude? Hang on, this is interesting. These are from New Realms. Huh. Have they done some realm mergers? Have they merged a bunch of realms together? Dune Mall and Arkindune were not realms that used to share this auction house. Are they just so dead that there's never anybody listing anything over there? Or have I just... They've been in the auction house for a while? Oh. Well, I guess it goes to show just how much attention I've been paying to the auction house recently then. Huh. Well, you live and you learn. Alright, let's get these listed real quick, because that crowd noise in the background is driving even me insane. Hey, what's that noise about? No, we're good. Since Draenor? Hey, maybe their realms are just so dead there's nobody over there that crafts anything. Which you could argue is, you know, if their realm is dead, my realm is dead, but, you know. Right, cool, that's done. Let's get this stupid noise out of the way. Let's get going. Complete the Moldraxus quest line. Let's do that then. Moldraxus story quest line. Leveling, Shadowlands, Moldraxus story only. Go. Go! What are we doing? Just pew-pewing stuff. Well, we're a hunter. We can pew-pew all day long. I kind of forgot about these storylines, you know. I think I've only ever really done these storylines maybe twice. I'm just thinking because I so frequently use Threads of Fate that I don't really I don't think I've done the actual like proper storyline more than once, maybe twice. This druid's just going ham. There we go. There's 30 of 30. Slay the elite contenders. Oh, just missed him. All other characters go Herbigan mining to level. Might do a dungeon here or there to split up the monotony. It'll be interesting, actually, just how potent Torghast leveling will be. Now, we already seem to know that the Torghast leveling is going to be linked to, like, a daily quest. So you'll get experience, I think not necessarily from Torghast, killing things in Torghast directly. We'll have to test this. But more so that you get a daily quest, and upon its completion, you will get a big old bunch of experience. So it allows you to do Torghast, but you can't rinse and repeat it, is my understanding of the system so far. I don't think they want people actively doing... They don't want Torghast leveling to be like island expedition leveling, where all you do is just rinse and repeat. But it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. It'll be a nice alternative way to level, even if you do it slowly. Take Threads of Fate, just do your Torghast one once a day, maybe. Who knows? Although many people's perception of Torghast is that if they never had to do it again, it wouldn't be a big thing, so... I kind of feel sad for Torghast, you know, because the potential that Blizzard had with that system was immense. Actually immense. Like, they could have done wonderful things with Torghast. Kind of like Islands, to be fair. Islands could have been a lot better than what they ended up being. But it's a risk you take when you attach player power to an item like that. You would kind of assume in an RPG that everything would have some element of player power attached to it, but when it not only becomes, you know, when it not only has player power attached to it, it's also linked to, it also becomes the meta, and it also provides you your best in slot items. It no longer becomes just an optional bonus kind of thing. It quite simply becomes, you know, default. And that's when I think player power in these features like Islands, like Torghast, goes a bit too far. And the risk you take when you do something like that is if it becomes mandatory for people and they don't particularly enjoy it to begin with, they're going to enjoy it even less when they feel as if they're made to do it. I hope you get followers whilst leveling, but I doubt it. That would be quite cool. That would be good. Definitely for those mission table ults. If you can level them up, get a few followers at the same time, get up and running with your mission table, I'd like that. That would be a good idea. That would certainly make it at least worthwhile doing a couple of Torghast runs while you level. I think they've still got work to do on Torghast, though. They're kind of getting it a little bit better in shape with the, you know, we've got the what do you call it, the tower knowledge. There's the bonus area if you know, get a good run. They're kind of getting there. And once we have unlimited Soul Ash and unlimited Soul Cinders available in the next patch, it might take away people's necessity. I don't know. People will have the ability to just grind it out if they want to just grind it out. If you grind it out in a day, you might be, you know, less inclined to hate the place. I don't know. Anima powers are still not balanced though. Some specs have it fun, others not so much. Yeah, I think like. I think they went the wrong way with it. You know, now you only have to do 5 floors instead of 6. Like, it's just bonkers. No, I mean, that's taking away your ability to snowball out of control even further. Twisting corridors was kind of a good concept, but there's actually no reason to do it at all.
We can't get away! Brace yourself!
And I said this before, the easiest way to fix Torghast, put in a leaderboard. I shit you not, you put a leaderboard in Torghast, even if it's realm specific. Put in a leaderboard, people will run that place all day. Because there'll be people on your realm that will not be happy. You know, they'll want to be on that leaderboard. Top 100 people on every realm. I don't know, give the top 10 a mount or something at the end of the season. People will run that place like crazy. I don't see why it's so difficult to see. You know, it's an MMO. Competitive players are all over the place. You know, let people be competitive. I mean, look how popular Arena is. I mean, 90% of World of Warcraft Twitch and YouTube content is arena. The PvP scene is a lot bigger than people give it credit for. Yeah, sure, people raid and have fun raiding or whatever, but the eyeballs are almost always... If you go to the WoW directory and you scan through the top 100 WoW streamers, you are without question going to come across more arena streamers than you will anything else, because it's the competitive side of it, right? People want to feel like they're good at a game. They want to be, you know, they want to shit on people, not in a fucking weird kinky way. 78.75% of statistics are made up. So it's also true. 100% true. Do twisting corridors to get the corridor creeper mount so you can mount up during the more intro. Yeah, exactly. Spend 15 hours of your life so that you can save 10 minutes of your life. Yep. Yep. Actually perfect. Genius. Oh, hang on, what are we doing? Read something or other. We'll do a 2-hour quest and get the other one. Yeah, I've not bothered getting any of those. Multiplied by 49 for all your alts. If you happen to have that many alts, then yeah, I'm sure it's probably worthwhile for you then, but... I mean, I like my alts, but I don't have that many. Although, I would imagine I probably have more alts than the average person does nowadays. I did work it out the other day. I'm almost at 10 level 60s, so I'm quite sure in saying I have more alts than average Joe. What are we doing with these dudes? We're going to do something with these fellas, I can tell. Give them a weapon? Ah, that's what we're doing. I'm going on 25. It's also quite safe to say that most of us in here are probably not average Joes. It's also why it's very easy to miss. What's the right word for this? It's very easy to not fully understand the scale of the player base in this game, because if you are the kind of person that watches a World of Warcraft YouTube video, or watches a World of Warcraft Twitch stream, or reads a World of Warcraft blog, you are probably in, you know, the top 10% of players that give a damn about this game. The other 90% of people just, you know, randomly stroll around doing their own sort of thing. 99... I was going to give another fake statistic then, but most of the time just completely oblivious to what's going on. And it was referenced by somebody in the Wowhead Weekly Economy report this week that I think originally it was a quote by Criparian, who basically said that, you know, you need a solid foundation of casuals to make an MMO good. If everybody in an MMO is hardcore, the MMO will die. You need that foundation of just dumbos that don't really, you know, they don't play the meta. They just you know, casuals. You need those people in the game. They are the foundation to which, because if you don't have the casuals making, you know, the average player be the average player, if min-maxing 1%ers become the norm, then who really is the min-maxing 1% all of a sudden? You can't all be the 1%. Ooh, we dinged. Right, we need more weapons, because still got to give a weapon to, like, a bunch of people. I watch streams and I'm still oblivious. Hey, well, not everybody can be helped. Is that a weapon here? No, that's some marrow root. We'll pick it up anyway. Casual people are the people who buy tokens and buy my stuff. Certainly not gold makers buying my mogs. Well, yeah. Yeah. Where are all these weapons that I need to pick up to give to people? Can I get them from looting these things? Apparently not. Here we go. Here's one. How many more do we need? 4. 1, 2. Let's dish these out. This quest is annoying. Not only do you have to find the weapons in the first place, then you have to find the dudes that need the weapons. And on top of that, there's a cooldown on giving the weapons out. Jesus. They want to slow you down much more? Casuals are the collectors. Raiders just want to min-max, really don't care about lore. Filling greys out in their appearance, pets and mounts and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. You gotta have a solid base of just people that do monotonous dumb stuff. Without those players in an MMO, your MMO ends up just, yeah. It will feel very bland. And this is why it's a very common misbelief, but people quite frequently say that Blizzard, you know, they make changes in the game. They make the changes to suit the 1%. Just absolute bullshit. Actual bullshit. Never did anybody ever say that they want to run island expeditions for 18 hours a day to max out an arbitrary item level on a single item of gear. Nobody ever said that once. The fact that you could what's the word? You could you could farm XP or whatever, as some Azeroth power or whatever the fuck it was called, from island expeditions. The reason you could do that was so that the casual player base always had something to do that felt like a step in the right direction. It was never intended to be just hardcore farmed out by the mega competitive 1%. And so this is why a lot of stuff in the game should be focused to the casual player base, because without them, the game's dead. GG. Game over. Aren't we meant to have some buff or something mega to kill this dude with? Because he is slapping me like a biatch. Oh, we're meant to blow a horn. And then skeleton dudes come and kill him for me. Ah, see, there we go. There's me trying to take it on the chin. Much better. I just get distracted too easy. I need a list of things to do, 30-minute slots at a time. If there's really something I need to get done or it just doesn't happen, I get overwhelmed and just end up sitting in Orgrimmar. I think many people do the same, to be honest. From a goal-making perspective, we need the dum-dums that buy our overpriced gear. We need the casuals to be buying those transmog items. Because it's still true to say, and as much as it pains me to say, that the transmog market is a market, even if I'm frequently quoted as calling it, you know, a bit of a myth. The fact that people do have success in it does prove that people do spend ludicrous amounts of gold on appearance items. The problem is they are few and far between, and when they all piss off to play Final Fantasy XIV, it becomes a problem, right? So you do need that solid foundation of just regular Joes. I prefer the term regular Joe rather than casual, because casual tends to have a bit of a negative connotation nowadays, even though, I mean, it absolutely shouldn't do, but it's a colloquialism. Say boosting is different, however. I know people who swapped from transmog and mats to boosting. They told me most of the people who buy boosts are already geared, or they just want to gear up an ult as fast as possible. They're not fresh 60s looking for catch-up, so boosting could survive without casuals in a sense. Yeah, maybe. But I think the boosting scene is cancer to the game in the first place. Whilst I actively choose to buy level 50 boosts off the auction, off the Blizzard store, I would much prefer they didn't exist. It's almost the thing is though is it's not something that can ever go away, because when there's a competitive edge, there'll be somebody that's willing to pay for that competitive edge. So it's almost a necessary evil. But I think because it's a necessary evil, Blizzard need to try a little bit harder to facilitate the necessary evil in an acceptable manner. By that I mean that they, you know, like, if there's going to be boosting in the game, and there undoubtedly is, then put them all in a certain place. Make a dedicated chat channel for boosters. And if you're looking for a boost, you go in there. If you're trying to sell a boost, you post in there. Get them out of everywhere else. Trade chat is meant for trading stuff, not selling boosts. Your problem is advertising, not boosting. Gotcha. That's part of it, sure. But the boosting side of things is, I also feel that it's that's just one aspect that's annoying from a just general Joe perspective. The issue I have with boosting is it is without question, and I don't care who. I mean, I'll fight people on this one. That it's just a placeholder for real money transactions. It's an absolute placeholder for real money transactions, and as is proven many times over, they're not. That's not good for the game. The people who do the boosting, I've got no problem with. What the problem I have is with the people who sit at the top of the pyramid, who are collecting all of the gold, and ultimately collecting all of the PayPal transactions for said services through the Discords, which is, like I said, there's a reason they use Discord. The reason they use Discord is because they can keep it somewhat out of the prying eyes of Blizzard. Why? Because, you know, if they were to do it under the prying eyes of Blizzard, they'd get banned pretty quick. Sounds like you have issues with capitalism. Oh, fuck. It's basically like boosting has just got way too sophisticated. Like, you know, I mean, it goes back as far as time as far as games do themselves. I mean, look at WoW Hobs, for example. WoW Hobs was WoW Hobs originally would power level people through Scarlet Monastery back in the Burning Crusade. He would run them through Scarlet Monastery to help level them up. They would stand at the beginning and gain all of the experience. He'd run through, kill everything, get all of the loot, and then he'd sell all the silk cloth and the gear and everything on the auction house. And that's what was, you know, the benefit for him of doing it. That was as back as far as the Burning Crusade, and that was very public. It made WoW Hobs famous. Today, though, it's just way too organised to the point where you can literally, if you have enough gold, buy anything in the game very quickly. If you want to. You want a super rare mount, you can buy it. There'll be somebody on a server somewhere camping the spawn. Every time it spawns, they'll have a seller lined up that they message, they group up with. The transaction's already happened in the background. And they're just selling these rare mounts off. Twitch stream boosting is a big problem. I've literally heard them go, this many bits for this many arena runs, subs and donations for boosts. That's a real problem. Streamers are making about 4 to 5 grand a month boost streaming. That's where the RMT is happening. There you go. There you go. Oh, this is where we tell people they look sus. Yeah, here we go. You're sus. Let's pew pew you. It's just bad business giving it all away to Amazon. Well, yeah. One of the common complaints with TBC Classic now is that it just feels way more artificial than it should do, because the inherent value of leveling up a character back in the old expansions was that you had to have dedicated a shitload of time, crazy amounts of time, to actually leveling up that character to even be able to step foot in that raid or to join that guild. Whereas all of that time and effort is just null and void now by the fact that, you know, you get a boost for free. Or you can buy one boost. Sure, it's one boost. Well, you just make a second account then, don't you? It's like, it's not hard to circumvent that. And in a game that was meant to, you know, bring back the nostalgia to people, TBC Classic has just turned into a cash cow. I think I'm getting hungry. I very think I'm getting hungry. There's only one reason I'd be having these conversations right now. It's because I'm hungry. You'll see it tonight around 4 PM EU time. Just search boosting keys, arena view boosts. Just watch. You'll see it. It's not out the kindness of their hearts. Isn't it what you do with TSM groups? Well, no, you still got to, I mean, I don't really see the comparison, but... They really start talking about services in cash? Damn. Where are the people I need to talk to? I need 2 more masked infiltrators and I can't find anyone. It would be so much easier if I had flying. Hey up, there's a dude up here. I can see him now. Today I watched a lady on Twitch selling mythic Castle Nathria mythic boosts with her guild, listing prices, how many bosses, which bosses. When you realise it's not just one person or 10 people, or even 50 people on Twitch, that's you see how it, well, yeah. Like I said, if there's a competitive edge in a video game, there'll be somebody out there that'll be willing to pay for it. I still, to this day, believe that it's one of the primary reasons why Master Looter got taken away. That they took Master Loot away as a way to, partially at least, circumvent the selling of gear. Because it's the one thing that obviously is chased more so than anything else in this game. But that was a change that was heavy-handed by Blizzard, which actually had a knock-on effect for the entire player base. It's, you know, it's like video games putting these outrageously invasive anti-piracy measures in all their video games. It becomes an annoyance to everybody for the sake of a small percentage of people. I really am getting hungry, aren't I? I can tell. I'm definitely getting hungry now. Can't believe there's still 60 plus of you listening to me rant. I hope you're enjoying while I do some monotonous leveling. You make it sound like we're listening, that's true. I'm sure Blizzard is aware of it. How do they police it though? Ban the accounts. And there's nothing stopping a Blizzard dev, you know, going onto these streams themselves, finding out who it is, finding out what their character is, and banning them. Literally nothing stopping them doing that. They're actively engaging in RMT. They should get banned for it. Not to mention if you're publicly doing it on Twitch, it's just a Dumbo move. Hella Dumbo. Big ears and all. Just waiting to see what kind of vegetables end up in your salad today. I've actually got soup for lunch today. Well, it's technically a soup, kind of bit of a stew. You know, some vegetables and potatoes, carrots, leeks, that sort of stuff. I'm going to eat it after my stream, so. There's our blade. Now we can pew ourselves back over to safety. Technically a soup, like a few strips of bacon and a single lettuce leaf is technically a salad. Yeah, kind of like that, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, if you put tomato ketchup on something, it becomes a salad, right? That's how it works. We can, if we're talking about loopholes of selling RMT, of loopholes of RMT in World of Warcraft, we'll find a real life loophole. Slap ketchup on anything, becomes a salad. It's instantly one of your 5 a day. If I put ketchup on 5 hot dogs, there we go. I'm a healthy man. I've had my 5 a day. I'll live forever. I should also point out this is clearly not, you know, solid life advice. Do not do all of the above. Pizza's the best salad in the world. Right, Bonesmith, do your thing. Forge this blade. Pizza's a sandwich? Well, originally, that was kind of its purpose, though. I mean, you jest, but pizza was, in its infancy, designed to be a small sandwich-like snack. It's just developed quite a lot since its initial design. Where are we going now? Pulsating hide scraps. What are we pew-pewing? Kill marrow jaw, and then click on overgrown masses. Why can I not find either? Oh, these blobby things are the overgrown masses. Okay. Have you guys heard of the ham dog? I have not heard of a ham dog. I imagine a ham dog is much like a hot dog. Oh, if we pew-pew things, we get more of them. That's better. It's a burger and a hot dog in one, but the bun is geniusly designed. Okay, what, so the hot dog doesn't roll out? You know, the easy way to prevent a hot dog from rolling out is you slice it in half. Just Google a ham dog. I'm not sure. I've learned from this in the past. Don't Google random shit that Twitch chat tells you to Google. It's nearly always a bait. Nearly always a bait. In fact, it's only second worse to actually clicking a link. So. Oh, that is clever. That is actually genius. Well, there we go. Australians at it once again. It's a trap. That is actually genius. Let me make sure that I have safe search on before I actively choose to show this on stream. But we have download the Shadowlands cheat sheet, by the way, just saying. We have a ham dog. This is actually genius. Maybe the Australians do have a good thought every once in a while. It's literally a 5-head move. Americans were annoyed they didn't come up with it. Absolutely. It looks like a dolphin. How the hell does that look like a dolphin? What kind of dolphins are you looking at? Some fat dolphins. Alright, that's actually ingenious, look. I mean, get this green shit out of it. Actually genius. Look, no, it looks more like one of those rays, the big rays, you know, the big flat things that have the little sticky out fins. Told you I want a ham dog. Hey, I'm all for a ham dog now. How the ham dog was born? The initial idea, Mark Murray, hats off to you, good sir. The inventor of the ham dog was out in a pub in Nashville. While struggling to eat a hamburger and a hot dog, Mark makes a mess and asks himself, why not combine the two? Patented. Who patents a ham dog? After almost 5 years of its concept being proven right, many arduous hardships, Mark Murray finally gets his ham dog idea patented. He took it on Shark Tank. Decides to sell 50% of his ham dog business to shark Andrew Banks for only 25. I can't say, that's too small. The deal was said to be a strategic deal to get the shark to make his business go international. Wow. Well, there we go. Learn something new. We learned what a ham dog is. Actually incredible. Oh, hang on. I'm 39 out of 40. I need one more of these little stupid things to collect. Donut Burger didn't set the world on fire, though. Well, some things are just not meant to be. But a ham dog, I think, has got... Ham dog has legs. I would invest in ham dogs. Right, there we go. Now we've got everything we need. That would be good clickbait for the YouTube today. What, ham dogs? I'm thinking about actually utilizing the VOD channel a little bit more. I probably might start putting together some more stream highlights for the VOD channel. I'll keep the main channel, you know, somewhat neat and tidy and organized, but I'll just do like stupid stuff on the VOD channel. Throw some clips up there from the stream, some highlights. Maybe the ham dog might make it into a highlight video, who knows. I've been meaning to do something like that for a while. It's just, you know, time. I need to play the YouTube algorithm a little bit. Also known as pumping out trash content for views. Now we learn fleshcraft. Start forging a rune weapon. Go on, my man. Do your stuff. World is a better place now I know about ham dogs. Making the buns might... I was just thinking about how can I make one at home. Making the buns is going to be a little bit difficult. Maybe you just have to, you know, find some really big buns and then cut them down to size. Put a little burger in the middle and cut out the edges. I don't know. Do you have a credit card to buy a ham dog? You're learning how to get maximum CPM off a YouTube video. Put the word credit card in the title. Yeah. I don't really have to protect him against much. Not a lot happening. Maybe my DPS is just too impressive. Looks like it's worth the painting if it's hard to make at home. Yeah, I guess. Boom, get wrecked. There's me sword. Well, it's not actually my sword even, is it? Because I don't get to keep it. I mean, spoiler alert. Right, there we go. Right then. I might leave it there, boys and girls. I'm getting really quite hungry. I think I need to go make myself some food. Unfortunately, not a ham dog, because I don't have anywhere near the culinary skills to be making ham dogs, as cool as they look. But we'll be back at it again tomorrow. What day is it tomorrow? It's Thursday. It might be a slightly shorter stream tomorrow, or I might start a little bit earlier. We'll have to see. I've got an appointment tomorrow afternoon that I need to attend to. But yes, we'll be back again tomorrow. We'll make ourselves a bunch of gold, hopefully. Continue plugging away. We're 54. I might level this dude up to 55 this evening if I have a bit of time. We'll get ourselves towards 60 slowly but surely and start taking over the NA realms. That's our plan of action at least. But thank you, boys and girls, again for today. Especially big thanks to those that gave their knowledge and their input earlier today when we were doing some TSM stuff. It's why I like doing this sort of stuff on stream. It's hopefully it's educational for most, plus I get the advantage of some of the real TSM wizards being able to pitch in, and hopefully together we can put together a better end result. So thank you once again, but we'll be back again tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day. It is reset day. If you feel the need to make a lot of gold, today is the day to do it. Get some auction house PvP on the go, get those items listed, get those items sold, and make sure you have fun while you do it. I'll catch you all tomorrow, boys and girls. Have a good one. Peace.